Today we're going to talk about self-management, which is one of the first things to do in terms of opening the door to human agility. And self-management makes me think of a time when I thought, oh, okay, one of these days I'm going to get organized. And then I realized that, oh, wait a minute, I'm already organized. I just have to understand how I'm organized. And this thought came to me based on a movie that I saw called Mind Walk years ago. And it was the brainchild of Fritjof Capra and some others who were understanding that we are human systems and we are living systems, and that we have to honor the self-organizing qualities of systems. And so if we're already self-organized, it means that we're wired to be organized in some way, and we have to honor that. So it's very helpful to know some of the ways in which we are organized. Now, some key aspects of self-organization are that we are self-maintaining. We do things that will maintain us. We're driven to do that. Now, other things interfere, like we have consciousness, so we can make mistakes and go ahead and choose to do things that are not good for our health or our sense of well-being, and that eventually would self-destruct. But that's when things are fairly dysfunctional, and in my experience that often happens when we haven't been true to how we're naturally self-organized. So self-maintaining is an aspect of self-organizing. Self-renewing is another important aspect. So we do things, and as living systems, we're organized in such a way that we want to renew our energy. We want to do things to renew ourselves. You know, your cells keep rebuilding and renewing themselves, and that's just true of all life, that it renews itself. And we are self-transforming. And this to me is a really magical thing, is that we have these patterns of self-organization, and when they're not working as well in the environment, we can transform. We maintain what we are, and yet we transform and become something that's different, that works a little better. So we are adaptable, we are versatile, we are agile. So we're born to be agile, but what are some of the ways that get in the way of that agility? Well, one of the things that gets in the way of our own effective self-management, which means honoring the systems that are already there, and honoring that urge to grow and to develop. One of the ways that gets in the way is we get stuck in an understanding who we are. We don't really know much about that. We're not taught that when we start to school or when we're growing up. We learn a little bit about human differences, but we don't really know about the core of who we are. And I think that's why personality instruments and all kinds of tools are out there and frameworks that help us understand who we are at our core, what is really, really important to our self-management. Now, all levels of systems self-manage, but I'm most fascinated with the individual system and how we as individuals relate to others. And that too has a self-organizing quality. But today I want to just bring this idea to mind for you, that we are already organized. We are self-organizing systems. We self-renew, we self-maintain, and we self-transform. And if we have a really good model of personality type, and that's more than just some traits like the ones I read about the newspaper sometimes. People have, observing behavior, and they come up with different traits and different aspects, and there's a grain of truth in all of those, but some of them are really, really powerful because they are built around the idea of a pattern, an organizing pattern. And when you get to that organizing pattern, you have a sense of what drives this self-maintaining behavior, what keeps us doing effective stuff that will renew us, and what opens that door to human agility. So we'll talk in our next segment about some of the personality type models and how they actually help us self-maintain, self-renew, and transform, and how it's some of the ways that we're already organized. So just to let you know that that's where we're going, and to get across this idea of self-management. And that at all levels of systems, they have an organizing pattern. There's something that drives them. They have a purpose. And understanding what that purpose is will help us understand ways that we can better self-maintain, self-renew, and self-transform. And all of that, we then are beginning to open the door to self-leadership. In our next edition, we'll talk about personality types and how these models of type, what does that have to do with human agility, and some do's and don'ts about using them. Thank you for joining me.